Good day. It's Friday, the 27th of September. The rest of the story. Today's going to give you a little upgrade on our PMO lawsuit. For those that haven't are just tuning in and don't understand what's going on, we went to the PMO back last year, about a year ago, and we asked for some help on some safety issues that had to do with identified problems with pressure testing in the oil and gas industry, where it comes to pipelines and facilities and manufactured items that would eventually end up in the field, drilling rigs, where we had a company that entered the market with a new product, which was a predictive software, which is as we identified was a hazard, an increased hazard to the system. We identified that the hazards existed prior to that, just the nature by which way the industry pressure tested without any real accountability, that we had gone on that for since 2007. We'd been identifying it and creating systems that try to rectify that as cheaply and inexpensively as possible without being too intrusive. So when you look back today and you start looking at some of your pipelines and some of your explosions and some of the deaths that happened and environmental issues, and a lot of these things, if you really get into the research of them and you get down to trying to find the information on the pressure tests, where were they done, when were they done, how were they done, there's not a lot of information. There's some, but there's not a lot. A lot of times it's the honor system. It is, as I say, it is, and that becomes an issue even when we get down to something like the digital formats, because there's no secondary representation to make sure the project was actually done properly. You end up with guys that'll cheat, and if they're having an issue, they'll what we call spinning the chart on the manual side. They can do it. It's easier to do on the digital side. You just represent a test or take a copy from a past test and represent that as your new test. So we have these issues to try to keep people on the straight and narrow. It's not because they really want to, that anybody naturally wants to go out of their way to present a hazard that's going to kill people, or has the potential to kill people or damage the environment. What happens is you have an influx of pressures, especially now in nowadays market, where you have industries that are under financial strain. You have the industry itself and the companies are under financial strain. The service industries, they're under extreme financial depression right now. So when they get told to do something, they're naturally afraid not to do it. So it becomes part of an issue where it's where somebody may have had in the past the backing or the intestinal fortitude to say no. Today it's getting to the point where saying no could represent whether you're going to eat next week, whether you're going to lose your house or pay your bills or be out of business. So we wanted to take that out of the industry. So we went to the government. We identified these hazards. We identified the cause and effects. We tried with the industry. We talked about that before. We went to the 637 directors and 64 top companies, and we said, look, we've been coming to you with this for many, many years. Right? You adapted our field service management system. You train it, as we've gone over that many times. That's one of the issues that we had. That we said, look, we'll even let you have that if you fix this. Right? If you fix this to keep people safe, we were generous enough to say, look, this is what we care about. We care about the safety of the workers and the safety of the environment. And if you do that, we'll help you fix the problems that you've created with the use of the field service management or the misuse of it, and the scalability issues that you've created with these clerical administrative safety programs that don't do anything other than create a barrier for entrances into the industry. So, we went to that part. So we figured the government would come on side. The government, as we quickly found out, weren't, and that's when we started getting into into looking at who exactly these directors were. I mean, we had taken a little look, but now we started taking an in-depth look and realized that these people kind of, they're made up of a good portion of globalists, which is a representation of who the government is at the time. And of course, when we started this, you still had the NDP in Alberta. You still got the NDP in BC, but you had the Trudeau Liberals in Ottawa. So now you're looking at a George Soros-led group of globalists that have been infiltrated into the boards of these companies. So it's no wonder these companies are failing and getting delisted, and these things are happening. The industry is in such horrible shape. It doesn't, as we've gone to point out, part of the the scalability issue is embedded red tape right into the industry itself. So even when a new government comes in and it removes the red tape from the regulatory requirements, you still got the red tape embedded in the industry to ensure that the industry has a hard time succeeding. So I mean, as we move forward with the government, we started to poke a little bit more at them, trying to get them to somehow come across and at least cooperate or be able to find a method of moving forward and trying to save people's lives and save the environment and having a little bit of concern. I mean, we even offered the fact that they didn't want to call it oil and gas; they could have called it the nuclear industry or any other. There's lots of other industries that require, the marine industry, lots of other industries that require pressure testing. So anyhow, we went forward from there. We got frustrated by when all of a sudden the more we poked the government, the more all of a sudden we get a notice from the CRA saying that we have we owe back taxes from 5 or 4 years earlier, which in our case, as we described, is very difficult because we hire accountants and bookkeepers. We don't have to touch it. We don't pick up our mail, so they pick up the mail for us. They look after that. They're the first call if there's an issue with our taxes or any of the taxes or with our WCBs. They call them first. Then they phone and notify myself. So this became quite a shock to everybody, like what's going on. So we went to the MP. My MP happens to be a conservative, and that's how the MP got involved. From there, we carried forward, and then by the early winter, they decided to attack my company bank accounts. The company bank accounts got taken and removed, and we've done a piece on that with the bank. The bank and I had about 3-4 weeks ago now. I guess we had a conversation. I sent him a copy of the PMO lawsuit. I sent him a copy of I sent him a letter as to how I thought our negotiations should go forward. I haven't heard anything back, and I don't expect I will until sometime after the election. So there we are sitting here with again, we have a situation where I said, well, you know what? This is obvious that the PMO's office, they weaponized the CRA. At the same time, there was other issues coming out where the PMO was weaponizing CRA against other companies that they had a disagreement with. So I said, okay, if you're going to weaponize the CRA against us, we're going to sue you for it. So we brought up all the safety issues and put them in the lawsuit, and that was kind of even though we sued them in small claims court, but the idea was to have these identified so we could list them and name them. And of course, by putting on the Attorney General, this was on the heels of a letter from Minister Sohi, which hopefully that man never sees the inside of one of our ministerial offices again when this election is done. But unfortunately, we've tore it apart. We presented it to him. We gave him an extra month to look at it before we even filed it. We filed it. We gave him extra weeks and months to return a response. They didn't do it. When we went to file the default notice, all of a sudden it became a requirement for them to do so. So they cited a law that we then found out was that law had been amended in 7 years later, and that amendment, the Attorney General should have been knowledgeable about that amendment, but the idea was obvious that they were trying to postpone the effect of the lawsuit so that it wouldn't become public and things wouldn't happen until some point down the road, and they've done that. So now on the 15th of October, we'll go in for the discovery, or in this case, it's a settlement conference with a small claims court. The problem is, instead of dealing with the facts of the issues, we're going to deal with this jurisdictional argument, because I mean the government, you obviously don't have, they didn't have, in my opinion, they don't have a jurisdictional claim, right? I mean so I went as far as phoning Paletti, the Attorney General that was tasked with response, a little 5-point response. I'm actually going to use that right now because I got to do do some legal paperwork for a buddy of mine. So the good news about it is that when we go there, that's going to be the argument. The bad news is that'll be a trial, which will be 2 or 3 months down the road. So it's long after the Liberals are hopefully out of power. So what will happen then? Probably not much. I don't imagine that anybody's going to show up, and we'll have a whole new world order, and right, and won't hopefully not this mess we got now. So that's where we're at with that suit. The industry itself, where's it at? Everybody that works in the industry can see it's just kind of sitting around, bumping around, waiting to see what happens after the election, like the rest of us. That you can imagine as soon as the Liberals are gone, or sometime, and before the election, they can probably start making a call. They realize that the Liberals are done, and the Liberals are done. Then you'll start seeing them changing out their directors and changing out their officers, trying to remove this, this globalist, liberal Soros New World Order stink from the industry, so we can get back to being a real organization. That all depends. If you caught Trump's UN address, basically his attack on the globalists is coming out, and that's something that we need. So I think you're going to see, there's going to be some cause and effects to that. But one of the best cause effects is that we get back to the rights of the people, and that seems to be what he's promoting, and that's what the whole idea behind this election is. Hopefully, that the people start viewing their own rights. So now, it's a matter of we see what happens on the 21st. I am a firm believer myself personally that if it goes the wrong way and somehow the turd gets back in, this crime minister, that we're going to have a civil war. And I can't say that I'm too bothered by that at all. I'm really not that bothered by it. That's kind of a sad thing, but I think that would be the best outcome if the Liberals were to get back in. This country can't exist the way it's been going for the last 4 years. The division and the divide is so bad between not just the people, not just the East and the West, but the people themselves. That this person that's been running it, and these idiots that he calls liberals, every one of them is guilty. If any one of them gets returned to power, if anyone gets elected on the Liberal side, that would be a travesty of justice in this country. So, anybody watching this, share the video. Hope you guys have a good day. That's the update on the PMO's office. I've been told to start keeping these things a little bit shorter because I start to lose you people. So, you know what? I'm just feel happy you don't have to read the stuff I write. You guys have a great day, and I'll try to get another one out tomorrow.